Well, back to our top story now. Wildfires continue to burn in central Newfoundland, triggering a state of emergency. For more, Premier Andrew Furey joins us now from Gander, Newfoundland. So thank you so much for making some time for us in what I'm sure is a very stressful time for you and everyone else in the province right now.
Very stressful, but happy to take the time.
Well, thank you for that. Premier, you're on the ground with crews right now. Any updates that you can give us at this hour?
Well, thankfully, weather seems to be cooperating at this moment. We were expecting winds to have changed more aggressively. They are changing, so it's a very dynamic situation, but still the current predictive modeling suggests that there will be a heavy smoke impact on towns of Grand Falls, Windsor, and Bishop Falls. So the fire is not directly predicted to have a path that will directly impact the communities, but the smoke is what is the greatest worry for us right now.
Okay, so the smoke is the greatest worry. So any advice that you might have to residents who are living in those affected areas? And I do believe you said, and you mentioned this earlier too, so Grand Falls, Windsor, Bishops Falls, any other areas that we should be sort of focusing in on?
Yes, so the surrounding areas there, and Botwood is an additional area that we're currently looking at right now. Again, it's the smoke that's the issue. So to your point, we're looking at evacuating and triage and evacuation of medical patients who are in facilities, hospitals, long-term care facilities, personal care homes. But we all know that there are people home with medical problems who aren't admitted to hospital. So we encourage people with lung problems, in particular breathing problems, to really take this seriously and consider evacuating the area, anticipating that wind change and the significant impacts of smoke in those areas.
And at this point, I know this is very much an evolving, changing situation, but are there any facilities or anywhere that those people in those affected areas can get to try and reach safety?
There are. We're encouraging people to reach out to the Red Cross. We've provided a number. It's on the webpage. But we also, state of emergency allows us to implement measures across government and throughout systems. So we're looking at securing facilities that aren't in use right now, like schools and other facilities, if there's a greater evacuation. But for those patients who happen to be at a home who are struggling with COPD or other lung problems, we encourage you to reach out to 811 for medical advice, and equally, if you have to be displaced, we encourage you to reach out to the Red Cross for potential lodging. This is an active, evolving situation, of course. We're setting up a 1-800 number to help facilitate as well, and we're very grateful for the Canadian military as well, who's helping coordinate some of these ambulatory patient issues within these communities.
And talk to us a little bit more about that, if you can. You mentioned in your update earlier today that you have been in touch with your federal counterparts. If you can, sort of help us understand what is at play there, what's in the works.
So we've reached out to our federal counterpart, in particular yesterday. I talked to Mr. LeBlanc, Mr. Regan, of course, and Hutchings here in Newfoundland and Labrador, and they've offered their full support. So that was prior to the changing weather circumstances, which heightened the alert level here. And as a result, that they've changed as well and offered more support on the ground. So right now, Canadian Armed Forces officials are helping the command center in St. John's coordinate some of the approaches that we were already talking about here today, like evacuation of patients, evacuation of ambulatory patients. And we're quite grateful for that. This is an approach that crosses all levels of government, and the collaborative effort is fully on display here today.
Premier, we've got about a minute left here. Wondering what your message is for the people of Newfoundland and Labrador right now, and what you're anticipating in the coming days.
Well, we really want people not to panic, but to be right. So this fire is changing. It's the largest fire since 1961 in Newfoundland and Labrador, 100 square kilometers, 10,000 hectares. It can change very quickly with the changing wind patterns. So we want people not to be panicked, but to be ready, and ready if there has to be a full evacuation of these communities. We can't wait until the last minute, of course, to evacuate patients. That's why we're being proactive right now. We really want people to be ready in their own homes should they require a more urgent evacuation, but not panic. We also extended a full fire ban across the province in Newfoundland and Labrador, and we really hope people respect that because it's about all of us working together to secure the resources, which are quite strapped right now, as you can imagine. We don't want fires sparking up around the province that we have to deal with. We want to be dedicated to this fairly large blaze right here, right now.
Absolutely. Well, Premier, thank you so much for your time. And of course, we're thinking about everyone who's been affected by this. Thank you, and all the best.
Thank you so much. And I'd just like to thank again the hardworking women and men on the front lines, either in the command center here or actually on the front lines fighting the fire themselves. An incredible effort.
Absolutely. Thank you to them as well. Newfoundland and Labrador Premier Andrew Furey.